appropriate greeting for Passover in Hebrew is Chag Sameach. Chag Sameach, which is why I'm all the way over here and you're all the way over there, because there's a lot of chaching going on and you don't want to be that close to me. So I hope that we have a good evening. We have designed this Haggadah to be informative and helpful and timely. We tweak it every year. The core of it is the same. It's the same, and it has been for hundreds and actually thousands of years. This one is going to have a lot more English to it and a lot more explanation. It's some very adorable pictures, if I may say so myself. Before we start, I have a message to you from someone who came to visit us at services just a few weeks ago. Someone who was this tall, 6'8" and a half, I think. I don't know how many of you were here when Roman Rodchenko came, and I don't know how many of you have watched the service, but he came and he spoke to us about how important he thinks Shreveport is to trying to help the Ukrainian cause. And he called me. I will neither confirm nor deny whether he called me not quite before Passover was over, but he called gushing, thanking me that the bill was passed and Ukraine is getting help. And he thinks that it was my ladies in Shreveport who pushed it over. That he said, when I left, there were ladies who said that they would call twice a day, every single representative, and I believed them, and he wanted me to thank you. There'll be a message in the bulletin. He's going to send you personal messages through our email this week. But thank you for that. And Israel got extra funding, and thank you for that. Before we begin, speaking of Israel, we have a chair here where I put, these are flowers from Israel, and I put this on the chair. This chair, no one gets to sit in, but it's set, and it represents those who are hostages who cannot come to a Seder this year. We have a candle lit, which is, in some homes, it's sometimes the earth side or Yiskor candle. For us, it's just a candle of remembering right now. And we remember them and we think about them every moment. And it is very hard to have a joyful Seder when we know and we don't know what's going on with those hostages. But I am reminded that for us it's scary, and I'm sure for them it's scary, but we have heard many stories from those who survive horrible situations like that, and what keeps them going is hope and joy of the celebrations and their memories of celebrations that have happened before. And so I want us to try to be joyful to the best that we can for their sake, keep them in our hearts, and we will remember them. If you turn to page 2, see, we're already on page 2. We haven't even started yet. This Haggadah has been used, and by the way, Haggadah means the telling, and it means the story. Seder means order. We have to follow the same order every year. The Haggadah has been used for many years at Bnei Zion. Each year, there are modifications to it. Sometimes there are corrections. Well, there may be corrections. Let me know if you find any corrections and I'll fix them. But there are also things that apply to that specific year. Some people at our Seder, at our tables, observe this holiday every year, and some are experiencing it for the first time. Some of us are Jewish, others are not. Passover is enjoyed by people of various faiths because freedom is at the core of each of our stories. We are deeply grateful to those who provide love and support to their Jewish partners, families, and friends. I hope you noticed that I worded that in a way so that if you're Jewish or you're not, you get to be supporting your Jewish families and friends. We offer special thanks to those who are raising their sons and daughters with a Jewish identity, and everyone who's living a Jewish life or supporting what we love to call Jewish ways to ensure the survival of Judaism. There may be times during this Seder when I'm going to ask you to read along with me. No one is obligated to read. If I ask you to read in Hebrew, there's transliteration every time. But you are welcome to read anytime you want. When were slaves. We were freed. Plagues end. Freedom means being able to be together. When we were freed, we gained new responsibilities. Our history is our story. The story influences our choices now. When we share the story, we learn from each other. When we tell our story to our children, it can strengthen us and their future. Tonight, as we have done for centuries, we relive our story and share memories through the senses, tasting, smelling, touching, seeing, and hearing the memories of freedom. In our recent history, we learned that yearning for freedom was about confinement in our homes. This year, we are still painfully aware that many people are still being held captive by Hamas. Praying for their freedom today and the hardships that Israel has been dealing with will change the flavor of this year's Seder. We do not know what will be tomorrow, but we remember that we have been through a lot and we can continue to hope. We are grateful for everyone who helped to cook, set up, or coordinate our Seder. We are grateful to everyone who is attending the Seder in person or online. You could wave to people online, by the way, where we have cameras over here. The next page is going to show you on page 3. All of these steps have to happen in order for us to have a complete Seder. All of these steps. And until all those steps happen, we haven't finished. So, okay, we're not done yet, but we're close. We begin every holy day with blessings for the candles and for wine, our symbol of joy. So this is a complicated thing. I'm going to ask you to please stand. If it's comfortable for you to stand, please rise. And if not, you may be seated. We should attune those chairs before we ask you to do this. I don't think some of you have chairs that are just out of tune. So these are the candles that we blessed for the holy day. It is going to seem an awful lot like the Shabbat candle blessing, except at the end we're going to say Yom Tov. So we're going to do the blessings first in English, and then we'll say them in Hebrew. The blessings on page 4. Praised are you, our eternal God, ruler of the universe, who makes our lives holy. Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel yom tov. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. We will be drinking 4 cups of wine or grape juice, whatever you choose to put into your cups over there. I have grape juice, but you have what you want. And there are reasons, a number of reasons why we do 4 cups. One of the reasons is that there are 4 different ways that God said that we are, how God helped us to leave and why we left Egypt in slavery. So on page 5 at the top of the page, it says, we drink the first of 4 cups to recall God's promise of redemption. In Exodus it said, and somebody at the table, at least one person at the table should probably be reading with me. That would be awesome. Say with me, I am Adonai, and I will redeem you from the burdens of the Egyptians. The blessing we're going to do is the first sentence on page 5, and then we're going to go to the English on page 6. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pori hagafen, and the English is, praised are you, our eternal God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine. Don't drink, don't drink, don't drink. Page 6 at the top of the page. Join me. Keep holding your cup. Get ready. So you have to be very multifaceted, multi-talented here to raise your cup and drink at the same time and say, no, don't drink. We read together, continue. Praised are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who has chosen us from among the peoples, exalting us by hallowing us with mitzvot. In your love, Adonai our God, you have given us feasts of gladness and seasons of joy. This festival of Pesach, season of our freedom, a sacred occasion, a remembrance of the exodus from Egypt. For you have chosen us from all the peoples and consecrated us to your service and given us the festivals, a time of gladness and joy. Praised are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Israel in the festivals. L'chaim, this is the cup of freedom. Drink. And yes, you can finish the whole cup if you want. 4 cups means 4 cups if you want. And you may be seated. Please say Happy Passover to somebody that you came in with and somebody you didn't come in with. Say Chag Sameach, Happy Passover, and get ready to turn to continue on page 6. We continue with, I'm going to have to share on your table. So there are traditions about washing hands for Passover. There's 2 times that you wash your hands. Long before a pandemic of 2020, we started a tradition of, I don't know how well it's going to work. We started a tradition of using hand sanitizer for our first of our washing, because normally we've got to kind of spread the water around and everything. So according to ancient tradition, we wash our hands now without a blessing. Most of the time before a meal we're going to say a blessing, but we're not eating yet, so we're not washing yet. We're not blessing yet. Washing our hands is a way of showing that we hope to purify our hearts and not just our hands. It's also a way of feeling clean and ready to take part in the Seder. We've created a new tradition. Instead of passing around a cup with water, we will pass around hand sanitizer. We plan to pass over many plates and foods to each other, but we do not want to be plagued with illness. So clean your hands. We're on page 6, in the middle of page 6. We're moving right along. It's a school night. I'm supposed to remember that it's a school night and it's a work night. Although when I was growing up, we didn't have school the next day. Not because we lived in a super Jewish place, but although it was New York State. In the middle of page 6, pick somebody to read this at your table with me. We taste the greens of spring, which we dip into salt water, the remembrance of the tears shed by ancestors enslaved in Egypt. Can you think of another symbolic reason for dipping at this point in the Seder? You can take some of the greens, the parsley, on your Seder plate, and you can dip them into the salt water that's right in front of you. And you can't eat it until you say the blessing. Anything we do, we always bless first. So we're going to say a blessing first, and then we're going to eat the karpas, the green stuff. Does it look like spring? It felt like spring today, didn't it? Like it just So this is gefilte fish. It is, this is gefilte, no, this isn't gefilte fish. This is liver. You can eat the liver, and you can eat the gefilte fish, and you can put, you're not, yeah, whatever. One of it is liver. I don't know, I didn't drop the liver on my table. One of it is liver, and one of it is gefilte fish. You may want to wait for the gefilte fish. We're not supposed to have horseradish yet, but that's okay. Remember to lean to the left when you're eating. And we're going to move along while we're doing this. On page 7 at the top of this page, so when I was growing up, we never got to eat anything at all until the meal was served, which is another few pages away. So we're being nice to you. Say, thank you, Rabbi. Nobody's listening. Say, thank you, Rabbi. You're welcome. In Egypt, we're having technical difficulties. Max, can you hear me? Sound just cut out. Max, can you hear me? Sound just cut out a little bit. Page 7. You're welcome. Everybody said thank you, Rabbi. I said you're welcome. Top of page 7. In Egypt, we were poor and had to divide our portions. Now we remember to share our portions with those who are hungry or poor. This year, our hearts are broken because of the war in Israel and the hostages who are still not home. Show the plate with the 3 matzot. Do you have a plate with matzahs on it? It's probably hiding under a cloth. Raise the middle matzah for everybody to see. Raise the middle matzah for everyone to see. Break the middle matzah in half. Good luck with that. It never breaks in the perforations. That's one of my jokes. And we're going to hide it. I'm going to hide half of it. Only one person hides it. I'm going to be hiding it. After the meal, when the kids are finished, anyone under 18 who's finished eating, after you finish eating, each one individually come up to me, and I will give you instructions about what to do for the Afikoman hunt. There's something special this year. So come up to me if you're under 18. If you're over 18 and you want to come to me for that too, come on. But we have to eat that second half. It has to be shared after the meal. Why do we hide part of the matzah? We put it aside for later. In a sense, it's like investing in our future. Anybody here know about investing in our future? Thank you. We hope that the things we set aside as special, like our Judaism, we put it as a special place, are things that our children will want to pursue. Why do we break our matzah before we even get to tell about it? The rabbis teach. Israel was redeemed from Egypt because of these merits. I need you to read these for me, will you? Our ancestors did not change their names. Our ancestors did not change their language. We set aside the broken portion of the matzah to remember what seems lost may be recovered, and what seems broken may be a blessing. I bet you all have stories about that sometimes something that feels broken could be a blessing. I hope that when we're having the meal, you share that. Lift the plate with the 3 matzahs, and we have to read a little bit. So I'm going to ask you to read this. Hold that up. All right, we're going to read this story. Anybody want to read with me? Halach manya. Read with me. This is matzah, the bread of affliction, the bread of poverty and sorrow that our ancestors ate when they were slaves in the land of Egypt. Matzah is special bread made without leaven or yeast, so it cannot rise. We eat matzah because it reminds us that we had to escape from Egypt so quickly that there was no time for bread to rise. It also reminds us of the poor food we ate when we were slaves. Let anyone who is hungry come and eat. Let anyone who is a stranger, anyone in need or want, share with us the hope of Passover. For we know how it feels to be a stranger in a strange land. Now we feel as if we are still like slaves. Next year, we hope to be truly free. Put down the matzah. Pour so until later. So while you're doing that, getting ready and pouring that cup, I'm going to tell you a really cool thing that the kids in my Hebrew class this year came up with. How do you remember, how do you remember what are the things you're not allowed to have at Passover? We do this. Everybody do this. Touch two brows. Ready? It's the brows. Brows. B-R-O-W-S. You remember barley, rye, oats, wheat, and spelt. Those are the things that are chametz. Barley, rye, oats, wheat, and spelt. Your brows. I can't tell you how much that's helped me already. I was 64 years old before I came up with that one. The kids helped me through this one. The rest of my life is going to be so much easier now that I remember. But now comes on page 8. You're supposed to sing 4 questions. And I usually try to get people to come up here and help me with this. Does anybody want to come and help me with this? I see a lot of people saying no, but do you have anybody who can say yes? Somebody wants to say yes. How about this side of the table? This brave side. They're not the youngest ones. Here, hold this. Just help me. Ready? We're going to say them together. There's a part that you all get to repeat with us when we do it. Ready? Manishtana halayla hazeh mikol halelot. Say it. Mikol halelot. Shebchol halelot. Anu ochlin chametz umatzah. Chametz umatzah. Halayla hazeh kulo matzah. Say that again. Halayla hazeh kulo matzah. Shebachol halelot anu ochlin she'ar yirakot. She'ar yirakot. Halayla hazeh maror. Halayla hazeh maror. It's about dipping. Shebchol halelot anu matbilin afilu pa'am achat. Afilu pa'am achat. Halayla hazeh shetef amim. Halayla hazeh shetef amim. Last part. Shebchol halelot anu ochlin ben yoshvinu ben mesubim. Ben yoshvinu ben mesubim. Halayla hazeh kulanu mesubim. Halayla hazeh kulanu mesubim. What did we just say? We like to point out that it's kind of like having one question and 4 statements, but we're going to pretend they're all questions. I just gave a microphone to 2 people who are going to help us read it in English. The top of page 8, the italic parts go. Top of page 8, why is this night?
Why is this night different from all other nights?
Keep going. On all other nights.
On all other nights we can eat chametz and matzah. Tonight, why can we only eat matzah?
On all other night we can eat vegetables. Tonight, why do we have to eat bitter herbs?
No.
If we go late today, it's not my fault. They're not reading their part. Come on.
On all of the nights, we don't dip herbs even once. Tonight, why do we dip twice?
On all other nights we either sit up straight or lean. Tonight, why do we have to lean?
This year we have many more questions about Israel, Gaza, hostages, Ukraine, elections. Which questions are most important to ask tonight? Which answers can we find together? All right, if they're not even going to read the 4 questions, which are easy, how am I going to get people to volunteer for the wise child? Who's going to do the children? Anybody from this table want to do? Anybody from this this table? I'll pass this around. Yeah. We're on page 9. Somebody be the wise guy. Pass it around.
The wise child is curious and asks, what are the specific guidelines and rules about Passover? What is it that we are supposed to learn from this holiday?
We try to teach this child everything we know. Pass the microphone. Let somebody else do it. We need, oh man, that's not what I meant by pass it.
Yeah.
The wicked child doesn't seem to care about Passover and asks, why are you doing these weird things? Why do I care about Passover?
We need to try to find a way to let this child see that it's about all of us. It doesn't usually help to answer, well, with that attitude, you wouldn't have been free. Yeah, that's not my way. Pass it on.
The simple or innocent child is full of wonder and asks, what is going on? Why is everything so different? Why is everyone doing these strange things?
We try to use the child's imagination, saying, I do this because it reminds me of when I left Egypt. Try to imagine when you left Egypt with me.
A child who doesn't know how to ask questions is too young or shy or unable to ask anything.
We help them experience a story, and there's another type where we use all our senses during the Seder to help the child realize what a wonderful thing it was to celebrate how God freed us from slavery, and how awesome it is for us to celebrate together. We find a wonderful way to tell them the story, even if they can't ask about it. Which child are you? What answers would you give to each of these types of children? You get to answer them during the meal, not now. Answers often require background information. We begin to answer our questions by explaining our background information. Here is a very, 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 very brief history of how we got to be slaves and how we got to be free. Do you remember being part of this story? We tell it to remember who we were and who we are. And we're going to read it the same way my uncles and grandpa used to read the Haggadah. It's going like, a long time ago, people prayed titles, and chose to believe in God, entered into covenant with Abraham. God promised that they would be the beginning of a great people. They had a son named Isaac who married Rebekah, followed in the ways of the parents. Their sons were Esau and Jacob, pastor. Jacob followed in the ways of his parents and grandparents, who married Leah and Rachel and had many children. One of his sons was Joseph. Joseph's brothers were jealous of him and sold him. Joseph was taken to Egypt, where he had very difficult times, but eventually became the viceroy to the Pharaoh in Egypt. He helped to make Egypt a powerful country, especially at a time when there was no food anywhere else. His brothers came to Egypt looking for food and found their long-lost brother Joseph. His father Jacob and all of Jacob's family came to Egypt to live. They lived happily for many generations. Then a Pharaoh took power who did not remember Joseph. The important things Joseph did for Egypt. The Pharaoh made all of Jacob's family work for him as slaves. We worked terribly hard as slaves for more than 400 years. Then God heard our cry for freedom and finally brought us out of the land of Egypt and out of slavery. Cover the matzahs. Make sure your matzahs are covered up. And lift up the cup. We're still not drinking it, but we have to have a cup filled with wine to drink, to do. And we sing this cute little song that goes, Vehi she'amda, Vehi she'amda, lavotenu v'lanu, Vehi she'amda, lavotenu v'lanu. We say together, God kept the promise that was made to Abraham and kept the promise to all Jews. In every generation, there are people who want to destroy us. God saves us each time. Put down the cup and cover your matzahs and sing this song with me. Who's got the deepest voice in this place? Who thinks got the deepest voice? Come on, where's my deep voice? Who's got the microphone? You got it? I want to hear a deep, deep voice. Who's got a deep, deep voice? Who thinks they could do Let My People Go Moses version? Come on. I know Hart likes to sing. Well, maybe you can sing it loud, deeper. Let's see, Let My People Go. Really deep. Go.
Let my people go.
I'm talking about oppressed so hard they could not stand.
Let my people go.
Oh my gosh, all the plagues helped to free us from the land of Egypt. our joy. The joy is diminished since the Egyptians suffered too as a result of Pharaoh's evil ways. We're going to say each of the plagues in Hebrew and in English. Bugs, Pinim, lice, Arov, fleece, Dever, cattle disease, Shachin, boils, Barad, hair, Arbeh, locusts, Choshech, darkness, Makat Bechorot, the death of the firstborn. And they tell me, you're not supposed to lick the plagues off your fingers, but I do anyway. It is the family way. All right, we're zooming right along here. Woman touched with spirit, she dances toward the light. Get ready. Can I have some clapping too? And the women dance. Miriam, she sang a song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance all night long. I'm doing one verse. That's it. Just one verse. What would you have, what do you have in your life that is a dayenu, that if you had nothing else, it would still be enough? Taurus? It's enough. We have enough Taurus, thank you. So in our Haggadah, we sing about a lot of things, but we traditionally only sing 3 different things. If God had brought us out of Egypt, that would have been enough for us. If God had brought us out of Egypt and hadn't given us anything else, we'd be fine. But God also gave us Shabbat. Dayenu. And if God had given us Shabbat and nothing else, that would have been Dayenu, enough for us. But God had also given us the Torah. Dayenu. And it keeps going, but we're going to sing about those 3 at the top of page 12. Ilu hotzi anu, hotzi anu mi Mitzrayim, hotzi anu mi Mitzrayim, Dayenu. Everybody. Dayenu, 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 second verse. Ilu natan lanu, et Shabbat natan lanu, et Shabbat Dayenu, 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 Seriously, look at this. You know what that is? Yeah. That's charoset. This is charoset. This is my roll. This is my horseradish. This is the shake bone. This is my. Could you picture having eaten all that? I cannot. So you should have a roasted shake bone. We're going to talk about them all, but take a look at it. It's supposed to remind us in what we see, and what we smell, and what some of it we taste, things that have happened in our past. But it's a weird thing to look at. Over the years, communities around the world have been adding their own symbolic foods to the Seder plate to keep modern day struggles in mind, even as they commemorate our ancient one. Here are some of the most popular things that other people are putting on their Seder plates. We didn't see these on ours, but if you make your own Seder, you may want to include these. You'll notice an orange for inclusion of LGBTQ Jews. There was also orange. There was a rabbi who said, I would put an orange on my Seder plate before I would let women be rabbis. I'm just saying. There are people say some crazy things. Yeah. Fair trade chocolate, demanding fair labor conditions in developing flour for Ukraine, to support the trying to find safety. So it reminds us of the sacrifice of the Passover lamb, which was part of the commandment that helped God pass over the homes of the children of Israel. How about the bitter herb? I think this is representing my shank bone and it's representing my bitter herb. That's what happened. Maror is a bitter herb, which on our table is horseradish. Maror reminds us of the bitterness and pain of slavery. Chazeret is also supposed to be something bitter, but I'm not going to lie to you. On ours, it's kind of wimpy. In some communities, way more bitter type of a lettuce. Charoset is a mixture of chopped apple, egg, a roasted egg, a roasted egg. It's a symbol of life and renewal. It also reminds us of the offerings our ancestors made long ago when they prayed in the temple in Jerusalem, to give thanks for their fertile fields and flocks every springtime. In many Haggadot, at this point in our service, we read a story about 5 rabbis. This is the part that's usually the hardest to read, even in English. And we're not ready for eating yet. We will be soon. These rabbis' names, can you guess what their names are? Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yehoshua, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Tarfon. They had a Seder that lasted until the morning, and their students had to tell them that it was time for the morning prayers. Do you want me to do that? It's a school day tomorrow. We can keep going until it's time to go to school. No, we don't want to do that. These 5 Talmudic sages aren't just random wise men. They're the wisest rabbis in the period directly following the destruction of the temple in 70 CE. This nighttime meeting we read about then wasn't just a leisurely Seder or about rabbis who are so religious that they don't know when to end their Seder. It might well have been a discussion on how to continue and sustain Judaism now that its beating heart, the temple in Jerusalem, was no more. If nothing else, we should learn from these men that even in the shadow of a great tragedy, faith and friendship always find a way to move forward. If you were to reinvent Judaism today, what would you change? That's what they had to do. Can you name 5 rabbis you have known who have influenced your Jewish journey? It's like bingo. You have to find a card and have them sign it for you right now. No, just kidding. Get ready. We're lifting up the cup again. In every generation, b'chol dor v'dor, each of us is supposed to see ourselves as if we were ourselves came out of Egypt, as it was written. And you shall tell your child on that day, saying, this is what God did for me when I came out of Egypt. That's from Exodus. The Holy One, who is praised, did not redeem only our ancestors, but delivered us as well. As it is said, God redeemed us from that place in order to bring us out and to give us the land that God had promised to our ancestors. We drink the second cup of wine to recall God's promise of liberation. I will deliver you from their bondage. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei v'ri hagafen. Praise are you, our eternal God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the vine, the chaim. This time we're supposed to wash our hands again. Only we're supposed to say a blessing. May I borrow your washy hands and stuff? Thank you. The blessing says, praised are you, our eternal God, who made us holy with your commandments and commanded us about washing hands. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat yadayim. Amen. Now, we're supposed to pass out pieces from the top and what's left of the middle matzah and wait for both of the next blessings before we eat the matzah. What? Did she say eat the matzah? What? Eat the matzah. Yeah, take some. Woo-hoo. Hold it up and get ready to say the blessings. Wait to eat until after you say the blessing. Catherine, half of a middle left on your plate. And we say two blessings. The first one sounds a lot like the same blessing you would say for, I'm not going to say out loud, fluffy kinds of braided bread, because I don't want to make you feel jealous about not eating it, or just regular old bread, or all that. It's the same exact blessing, because it is our bread for the next week. And the second blessing is the one that specifically reminds us that we were commanded to eat matzah. In English, we say on page 15, "Praised are you, our eternal God, who brings forth bread from the earth. Praised are you, our eternal God, who made us holy with your commandments, commanded us about eating matzah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu al achilat matzah." You have to have a bite now. This is what we came for. What a crummy holiday. Now you have to take a little bit of the horseradish. You don't have to take a bit of this one. You should have a little thing with horseradish. It could either be a little bit like this, the sliver thing, that's slivers of horseradish, or you also have, I think, you have brown horseradish on your table too somewhere? Maybe? You have horseradish on your table? So you're supposed to take some horseradish, and you have to take it with your matzah. And you have to say a blessing, because God commanded us to do this. The blessing, we're going to say at the top of page 16, we're going to say it in English first. We remember how bitter slavery was by fulfilling the commandment of eating the bitter herb. Praised are you, our eternal God, who made us holy with your commandments and commanded us about eating maror. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu al achilat maror. Now eat it until smoke comes out of your ears. Slavery was painful. Whoa. Ouch. Butt cheek. Now we're supposed to take some more horseradish and put some charoset, which is the thing that looks like kind of apple salad on your tray. You're supposed to put it on a piece of matzah. And we tell this story. We remember the days when the temple stood in Jerusalem, and Rabbi Hillel combined matzah and maror in a sandwich and ate them together to fulfill the teaching in the Torah. They shall eat it with matzah and maror. You may eat your sandwich, and your meal is being served. Can I ask a question? We were told that someone here cannot have any nuts. Who cannot have nuts? Raise your hand if you're the one who can't have nuts. You see over here? This one here? This one here? Anybody else too? You see where? Free? No nuts? Free nut? Free? Everybody else is about to get served. When the meal is complete, we're supposed to say a blessing. Consider taking time while the children are trying to find the afikoman to go around the table, have every person speak from the heart, and bless the person sitting next to them. Think about the kind of questions you would like to be asking this year. If the people at your table don't know the answers, find somebody else who might. And remember, if you are under 18 years old, I need you to come to me when you finish eating so that I can tell you what to do about finding the afikoman this year. Get ready, because your meal is about to get served.